Hey friends, good morning. Welcome to December Dailies. I'm Melissa. This is my kitty child, Mila. Today is day 17 of our daily vlogs. Today's gonna be a little different. I have anxiety. I'm not quiet about it. I've mentioned it many times before, but today it's truly getting in the way of our vlog month. I've been teetering a panic attack since about 3 a.m. I barely slept last night. Just like anytime I was asleep, it was rolling nightmares. I just feel very up today, if that makes sense. If you have anxiety, you probably understand. Just like sensory overload. Every noise, a truck drives by and it just like radiates in my bones. And I had a plan tonight to take Mila to like this Christmas lights park to see the lights and the installations, but I don't think I could be in any place where there's like a concentrated amount of people who are very excited about the Christmas season. So today, instead of going out and doing an activity, I'm gonna share my top 5 tips and tricks for preparing and traveling with your pet.
Here are my top 5 tips for traveling with a pet from someone who travels with their pet full time. Tip 1, start early and be consistent. From the 3rd day of Mila's life, I knew she would be mine. But considering I'd been traveling for 3.5 years with no real plan of stopping, I also knew that she would have to get comfortable with moving around. So when she was 1 month old, I bought her a backpack. Obviously, not everyone can start their pets in a backpack at 1 month old, but if you know you have a trip coming, give yourself a few months to figure out how you want your pet to travel. Here was my process with Mila and what I do ongoing to ensure easy travel. Or even putting her in her bag, I left her bag in her play area for a few weeks. I would put her toys in it and encouraged her to explore her bag fully. This also allowed her to put her scent on the bag, claiming it as her own. So when I went to put her in the backpack for the first time, she was more or less familiar with it. Start small. Mila's first trip out in her backpack lasted all of 5 minutes. She was crying, which was to be expected, and we took a quick trip around the block. Every day, I added a little time until eventually we were going out for 20 or 30 minutes a day. Even now, I don't take Mila out every day, but to ensure she stays exposed to noise, I try and take her out at least a few days a week. Try a trip. Eventually, I started to take Mila in taxis and even longer bus rides to expose her to a moving car. If you plan to take your pet in a road trip, start taking them around town while you're running errands. If you're going to go on a bus, try an Uber or 2, or even go on a small bus trip. If you're flying with them, try the car or the bus first. A big difference with flying is the air pressure change, so if you've got an opportunity to drive with them and change altitude, it may help you get an idea of how they'll react to takeoff and landing. For Mila, she just needs extra chew during takeoff and landing to make sure that her ears pop, but obviously, the only way to fly with them is to just fly with them. Load them up the same way. Mila and I have a routine we go through every single time she gets in her backpack. I get a squeeze treat, squeeze a treat on the ground or a plate, position her to where I'm putting her harness on from behind, put her harness on, pick her up and put her in the large opening in her backpack. Clip her into the backpack, close the large panel, open up the small panel on the top of the bag, put her backpack on, and then we leave. Whatever your routine with your carrier is, keep it the same every time. Tip 2, choose the correct carrier. Obviously, every animal is different, but here are some tips I think anyone could benefit from when choosing a carrier. Decide what type of travel the carrier will be used for. For us, we primarily will be using our carrier for daily walking around, but also require one that can fit under the seat of a plane, bus, and one Mila can grow into. This is why I went with the Mr. Peanut Aspen backpack, as it fits her well and meets our travel needs. If you're looking for a carrier that will do better in the car, the one we have might not be the best. So really do your homework on these. I recommend Travel Pet and Mr. Peanut for brands to check out. I'm not sponsored or anything, just I've done a lot of research on the topic. Airflow matters. Regardless of the carrier you choose, please consider that your pet will be sitting in it for extended periods of time. Do not get caught up in trends that look cute, but consider that there's an animal in there that needs to be able to breathe. Make sure the carrier has a place to clip them in. We all know pets can be masters of escaping, so make sure the carrier has a safety clip so they won't go wandering off without you knowing. Tip 3, provide extra comfort. When we're going around town, I just put Mila in her backpack, but if we're going on a longer trip, longer meaning like more than 30 minutes, I always put 3 things in her backpack with her. Her baby blankie that she's had since she was 13 days old, her eggplant toy that she's also had since she was 13 days old, and her favorite toy of the moment, right now it's a coil toy. If I know we're going overnight, I always bring her wet and dry food, her water bowl, lots of chews and extra treats, extra toys she loves playing with, her travel litter box, litter she's used to using, and her pop-up tunnel and or pop-up tunnel pieces. I know this probably sounds like overkill, but having some home comforts for your pet can make a big difference in how they feel about a space, and I recommend having a few things on hand that they're familiar with. Tip 4, before going on a long trip, make sure you wear your pet out. I take Mila out on her leash, play with her and her toys, encourage her to use her litter box, and try to get her all the way tired before a trip. If she's sleepy, she'll likely just rest the entire way and try not to escape her bag the whole time. Tip 5, remain calm. On the day of the trip, something will go wrong. It is inevitable. On Mila's first big travel day, our flight got delayed hours. I wasn't able to get cat litter delivered to the hotel. I frantically had to buy a bag of rice in the middle of the night for her to go in her litter box. It was a nightmare. However, I tried to remain as calm as possible through the entire experience. Animals can sense your mood, so if you're calm, they're calm. Another thing I do with Mila is if we're in the car or on a plane, I keep my hand on her the entire time. This seems to help her stay relaxed, and I found if I take my hand off her for some reason, I'm usually on the receiving end of kind of an angry meow. So to close out, my top 5 tips are start early and be consistent, choose the correct carrier, provide extra comfort, wear them out, and remain calm. Obviously, there are many more things you can do for your pet while traveling, but these are my 5 things. If you have any tips to share or have any questions for us, please drop them in the comments. I'm an open book with this sort of stuff, so ask us anything.